Welcome to the Headley Highlight Show's Royal Corner. This week in the Royal Corner, new trustee at Sentebale charity quits after intrusive media attention. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, dropped second episode of Confessions of a Female Founder, with Rishmaster Junie, where they're talking code and finding the right balance when trying to build a business with families. Also in the Headley Highlight Show's Royal Corner, King Charles and the Plan B Queen Camilla are greeted with boos and jeers from not anti-monarchy protesters, but people who are asking what value you serve at the Maundy Thursday service. Green-eyed king-in-waiting Prince William and his work-shy wife are giving King Charles and the side salad Plan B the snub this year over Easter. But it's not articulated like that, no. It's articulated as Prince William and the Prince of Wales will skip the traditional Easter gathering to spend more time with the children. Very favourable framing as usual. Also in the Royal Corner, work-shy Kate enters soft nature queen era in a bold move where she makes a movie with the Scouts so she can connect with nature. We also have Sycophant of the Week, where once again we have a jockeying position for the podium slot from Isabelle Casey of Hello Magazine, and India Block writing for the now defunct Evening Standard that nobody reads or read when it was available free at most London stations. India Block needs to be blocked for all our sakes. As she writes a rather awful article about the Duchess of Sussex, and I'll come to that later in the week. So she also is qualifying for Sycophant of the Week along with Miss Casey. And finally in the Royal Corner, bottom feeder royal aide, who accused Miss Markle of bullying, suddenly gets a promotion to green-eyed Prince William's organisation as he becomes CEO, Jason Koff that is, of the Earthshot Prize, the greenwashing NGO organisation for Prince William. Now, before I jump into the substance of this week's contribution, I'd like to say thank you to all the listeners and people. I am at 1,000 already. Can you believe it? I'm at 1,000, I think, and 43. That's where I am. I'm aiming to get to 1,500. That's my next goal, people. 1,500. And I just have to say thank you to everybody who's been listening, people who've been coming back, who've been commenting. It's a really big deal that you like my stuff. And it makes me feel absolutely fabulous, darling. Jump over to my website and make a donation as well, because you can buy me wings, chips and a Miranda drink, which I love. Or you can buy me rice and peas, chicken and oxtail from my local Caribbean shop, or callaloo, or some roti, or I don't know, some patties or some cake, or a drink and I don't know, and a salad. All donations go towards the show and keeping this unique and authentic content coming to you every week. Hit the notification button so I can be delivered directly to you, darling. And with no further ado, let's jump straight in, shall we? Right! The story around Sentebale seems to have had the wind knocked out of it. And I picked up on this article and I thought, let's just throw this into the mix this week. New trustee at Prince Harry's charity quits after intrusive media attention. Now, this is interesting because the article cites a recently appointed trustee of Sentebale. And as I discussed previously, you can't just appoint trustees. There's a process. It's called the AGM, and therefore you need to appoint trustees at the AGM. That's the whole point of having governing documents. And because the Charities Commission is currently examining the case within the confines of what's called the regulatory compliance, they will be looking at that question around whether or not the trustees met their obligations under their memorandum and articles of association Association. So this issue about them appointing new trustees, I think that's somewhat disingenuous and potentially a red herring. And there to try and make those people who are still running this charity and seeking to still do, as far as I'm concerned, damage to the charity, to give them some sense of credibility and cogency. So according to this article, Margaret Ngozi Ipoh, I probably said that wrong, Margaret Ngozi Ipoh, who was appointed as a trustee on the 25th of March, has subsequently stepped down on the 2nd of April. She only was actually a trustee for 6 days. According to a spokesperson, they said that this was a particularly difficult time to have joined the organisation, given the unexpected, sustained and intrusive media attention, and that she has chosen to step down out of respect for her family and other professional commitments, which we fully understand, respect and support. Well, clearly that's someone, just like, when on the Titanic, when people were jumping overboard because the ship was sinking, that's what's happening here. If the Charity Commission find in favour of effectively the trustees that they acted within the confines of their governing documents, then all the trustees subsequent to that have been subsequently appointed, well, what's going to happen to them? Something's going to have to happen, and that's not going to be something favourable. So it's probably better to leave quietly with your integrity and your name intact marginally, given that you came on with this group of people who clearly were destructive. But, you've gone out the side door in a kind of, what's the word I'm looking at? In a sheepish manner, with some hope of holding your dignity and regard in one place, as opposed to being tarnished with the brush, which is clearly going to be tarnishing the vast majority of those people who were involved in this debacle, headed up by Ms. Chanduka, of course. So the trustee now has pressed the ejector seat and she has left the building. I am looking forward to the deliberations of the Charity Commission. Let's see what happens with the rest of the trustees. Moving along swiftly, darlings. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, drops her second episode, for Confessions of a Female Founder. And the response from the British media machine has been one of mockery and seeking to tear her down. And this is the reason why I am nominating India Block from the Evening Standard, a defunct press that hardly nobody used to read when it was given away free. It's now an online publication with even less readership. She's written an article where she basically tries to tear down the Duchess and also support this idea that somehow she is her podcast is bland, and it's picking the elements of feminism that relate to elite women who have huge amounts of money and don't live in the real world with the rest of us. That's the nature of her article. While I don't want to centre most of her article, I do want to talk about the actual podcast and the fact that the Duchess sat down with Reshma Sanjuni. She's a founder of a non-profit called Girls Who Code and Moms First. And she had met Meghan some time ago in the UK in 2018. What was interesting, I think, for me, was that she talked about her experience as being a second-generation Indian person, being an immigrant, being bullied at school, and attempting to assimilate, and how that had shaped her in her early years, and also the fact that she'd been involved in politics and she'd run for office. Throughout the whole article, India tries to belittle the impact of the Duchess's work and her ability to impact on ordinary women's lives. And what I find absolutely ridiculous is that the Evening Standard then starts to talk about their position as elite women in a capitalist society. I have never seen an article in the Evening Standard ever examining that position of the current royal family who are encrusted with entitlement going on for generations. But yet you're trying to do that with Meghan. Sorry, Duchess of Sussex. And this is the reason why India Block is going, she's breaking in at the beginning, yeah? She's breaking in for first place because she is the epitome of the type of obsequious type of reporting that there is always about anything that the Duchess does. They're always trying to pit her against the current establishment with the House of Windsor and making her out to be like she's always the outsider. She's always intrusive. She's always stealing ideas or trying to do things. She doesn't have her own creativity. And this is the reason why India is a personification of that deferential, pastoral, constantly puffing framing that they give to anything that the Windsors do, the King does, and everything that Meghan and Harry does needs to be formulated within that other framework of they're the bad, they're the evil. And she comes in this week at pole position for that. So well done this week, India Block. You get Sycophant of the Week. And you're going to share that with Isabel when I chew all over her too. There you go, India. That's for you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Also in the Headley Highlight Show's Royal Corner, King Charles and Plan B turned Queen Camilla greeted by boos and chants from anti-monarchy protesters at the Maundy Thursday service. And I think the framing of anyone who questions the validity of the firm and this establishment as anti-monarchy is grossly unhelpful and also inaccurate. The King and the Queen arrived at Durham Cathedral for the Maundy Thursday service after missing it last year because the King was unwell. They were greeted with boos and jeers from individuals holding placards saying that you were not my king. These protesters were carefully airbrushed out of any of the media narratives or pictures that you saw. They did go for a walkabout afterwards, where they encountered more protesters asking the questions that they asked at the beginning of the service: what functional use do you serve? The article goes on to tell you what they were wearing. And once again, the coat dress makes an appearance for the Plan B Queen. The ceremony dates back to the 13th century, along with the establishment of the royal family. And it wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea to question after maybe, 7 centuries after that, whether or not the institution is still fit for purpose. Also in the Headley Highlight Show's Royal Corner this week was the noticeable absence of the green-eyed king-in-waiting and his I don't want to do any work whatsoever wife/queen-in-waiting also. Let me give you the article and how it was framed for you. The Prince and Princess of Wales will skip the traditional Easter gathering at Windsor Castle this year. No mention of the royal family being snubbed in that framing, or traditions being rejected, or them trying to cast a new path against the stranglehold of history, effectively. No, none of that. Now it's being framed in a very favourable manner. William and Kate will instead stay with Prince George, Princess Charlotte and Princess Louis at their home in Norfolk. Given that he's potentially the head of the church, you'd thought he'd put in appearance, wouldn't you? Once he gets to be king, he's also the head of the church. That was the whole thing with the Anne Boleyn, the chopping of the heads, and Henry and the Pope and the separation and all that. So it is a job that he's going to have to do because let's face it, it comes with the title, but it's clear that's one of the things that he will be dispensing with. And the way this article gives them a framing for them to have another day off at the public expense, they frame it within the context of they're choosing to spend their time as a family before the children go back to school, a source close to the family told the Daily Mirror. Please. Which part of them is spending time with their children? The only time you see them with their children is when they're taking pictures. Outside of that, you don't see them. They've got at least 16 nannies each for each of those children. And we all know that whole thing is vanilla and, and lavender. So what you coming with? Anyway, let me just jump to the next story. Also in the Royal Corner this week, I thought this one's great. Listen to this. Kate Middleton enters her soft nature queen era in a bold bid to outbid Meghan. I put this article together myself, of course. In what insiders are calling Operation Glastonbury Duchess, the Princess of Wales has made a surprise pivot into spiritual eco-influencing. And it's absolutely biodegradable because it stinks, people. It needs to go in the compost heap. She's trying to rebrand herself as the royal polo chick she's trying to rebrand herself from royal polo chick to woodland nymph. as she emerges from the Lake District, like, a Bowden-clad Greta Thunberg connecting with the scouts and the chief scout, Dwayne Fields, and her own inner moss goddess, yes, because then she was walking around. We had pictures of her in the soft sunlight, raising a glass and being, what does she say? It was all very spiritual. And can you believe it? She's actually made a film. Kate's found time to make a movie. Yeah. She's obviously very clear of the cancer now. Yeah, she's got time to make films now. As she's walking around, she's making movies about connecting with nature. How come you're making movies about connecting with nature all of a sudden? And is that something to do with the fact that the Duchess of Sussex is now is styled as a lifestyle guru? She's harvesting honey and making jam, and now you're a woodland nymph. Yeah? Is that what you're trying to tell people? Is that what you're trying to convey to people? That you're suddenly interested in spirituality? Oh, gosh, please. Honestly, you know what? The follow fashion, the pick me, look like me, I'm just as good. It's just so much, honestly. And you just have to laugh at it. Her film is going to bomb, just like her husband's film, Ending Homeless, which didn't even get 4.5 views. I got more views on my channel with no promotion, no big names, just me and the brother that does my promotion. We got more views than the royal family. And you're making a movie. Okay, look for that. Yeah, I'm interested to see how that one goes. Earthy and spiritual. Nah, just stick to tiaras and entitlement, okay, Kate? That works for you. Next in the royal corner this week, we have more articles about her chic and wonderful style. And this is Isabelle. Yeah, Isabelle, she's getting Sycophant of the week as well, along with India. Hold on a second. Let me tell you why Isabelle's going to get Sycophant of the week. Isabelle Casey, writing for Hello Magazine, has written this absolutely putrefying. I can't even think of the word to describe how sickly it is. It's like the slaver that comes out of a mastiff's mouth. You know those dogs with a big neck, when they got that slaver, that thing is just long. This is the kind of slavering sort of a title that comes from somebody like Elizabeth Casey as she jockeys for the first place on the podium for Sycophant of the week. Listen to this. The future queen is never short of a striking, stylish outfit. The Princess of Wales, according to Isabelle, never fails to serve us some style inspiration. Prior to being plummeted into the life of being a future queen, she didn't plummet. She waited 10 years for it, okay? That's why she was called Weighty Katie, because my girl was waiting 10 summers, okay? So prior to being plummeted into the future life of being queen, she used to be a post-grad, and she never missed her high society fashion and her high society events. So this article, right, let me tell you, this article is making reference to pictures of Kate before she was married. So you, as somebody who's following a fashion trend, need to look back at Kate's style. What was that, 10 summers ago? What does 10 summers and on trend have in common in terms of wording and in terms of the logic of it? 10 summers ago, it doesn't say trend, does it? It says no trend. It said it was history. It's past. Trend is like going forward. What's happening now? So why are you showing me a picture of her 10 years ago and saying that that's the place that people need to occupy? And that is what Isabelle, writing for Hello Magazine, has spent the next 7 paragraphs telling you about. Listen to this. One fabulous summer look that springs to mind is a super chic and waist clinching number worn by Kate in 2007. How long ago was that? 2007. What's that? That's nearly like 18, 17, 19 years ago. How long ago was that? Kate Middleton is wearing a black and white dress walking in Chelsea. That's the image that you see. The garment in question is a black sundress, and she wore this number when she was leaving her 1.8 million Chelsea flat that she used to share with her brother and her sister. This person has got no relatability to anybody. She lives a charmed life. She went into an even more charmed life. And now you're telling me that we need to worry about what clothes she's wearing? Give me a break, Isabelle, man. Please, you just need to come in at number... You're coming in at number 1 with India. Look, both of you this week are going to share that podium slot. This goes out to Isabelle Casey from Hello Magazine, because she also is a sycophant to the royal courtier to the bowing her head, and anything they do, no matter how minor or insignificant, she's going to dedicate column space to it. So this goes out to you, Casey. Thank you so much for writing another obsequious article this week. Thank you. Here we go. This is for you. To Casey in India, this week's Sycophants of the Week. Thank you so much. And finally, I found this article and this story just as I was, tidying up and finishing up the end of the Royal Corner. The Royal Aid, or should I say gutter snipe. I love that word. It's a great word. Gutter snipe. A gutter snipe is a bottom feeder. It's a way of describing someone's character when you use it in like an adjective, a describing word. Oh dear. It's safe to say that I don't have a high opinion of Mr. Korf. Anyway, he is the new CEO at Earthshot. He actually filed a complaint against the Duchess for bullying, which was helpful to his new boss, which is now Prince William. How unsurprising, so many coincidences, always linking back to him, isn't it? It's almost like a lattice of embitterment. They just always seem to link back to him and Daddy. Jason, who also was the previous communications secretary for Prince William and for Kate, before becoming communications director at Kensington Palace and eventually the CEO of the Royal Foundation, has a close working relationship with the future king. So he, in my opinion, will be probably doing his best to rebrand the future king as something and somebody who has humanity, is concerned about, environmental issues, when in fact we know really he isn't. Any updates on ending homelessness at all? No, anything? I didn't think so. So that's it in this week's Royal Corner. So as a quick summary, the key things that I picked up on were the self-removal of individuals off of the Sentebale Trust because they don't want to get tarnished with the outcome of that investigation by the Charities Commission. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, dropped her new podcast, the second episode, where she was speaking to Rishma Sajuni, founder of the non-profit Girls Who Code and Mums First. The papers actually did the usual thing, tried to tear it down and belittle the efforts and the conversation and the impact of them. And as a consequence of that, I gave Sycophant of the Week to India Block, who needs to be blocked. And we need to be blocked from her content for our own safety and sanity. So she got Sycophant of the Week along with Isabelle Casey from Hello Magazine. She wrote about Kate's fashion sense from 2007. Like, what was that, 15 years ago? Hardly on trend or in vogue, is it, Isabel? So the two of them, they shared Sycophant of the Week, and I'm just going to give them a quick applause again, because I'm just bringing in the mix board. Here we go, people. Woo! There you go, Isabel. Thank you so much. You in India, you deserve it this week. Sycophants of the Week. King Charles and the Plan B Queen got booed when they went to the service in Maundy on Thursday. Lazy William and his even lazier wife didn't go to the Easter Maundy celebration, and they're not doing that now because they just can't be bothered. Also, Kate found time to make a movie about connecting with nature, which no one's going to watch anyway. And also, she was on holiday again from what day job, how many hours did she put in? I don't know, but once again, she was on holiday. I forgot to mention that. And Jason Koff, who in my opinion was very integral in trying to damage the reputation of the Sussexes, suddenly got another job from Prince William. He's now CEO of the Earthshot Prize. Continually failing upwards. Sounds about white to me. Right, darling, right. That's it. It's taken me a lot to get it out this week, but you know what? Every time I finish, I always feel a sense of triumph. Why? Because I made it and I'm back. That's right, people. And you know what? I'll be back next week. So please do come back, make a donation, subscribe, come to my live show, which is 8 p.m. GMT, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on X every Friday. And thank you for listening. And see you next week. This is a Splendiferous production because it's splendid and different, just like me and all of you. Bye. And cut! At last. Bye.